about now. I'd hear him singing to his muley cow. So come on, my sweet old girl, I bet the whole damn world we're gonna make it yet to the end of the road. Singing hard times ain't gonna rule my mind. Hard times ain't gonna rule my mind. Bessie, hard times ain't gonna rule my mind no more. It's a big cold world, heavy indeed. That big machine is just picking up speed. And we're supping on tears, and we're supping on wine. We get to heaven in our own sweet time. So come on, you Asheville boys, turn up your old time noise. Kick till the dust comes up from the cracks in the floor. Singing hard times ain't gonna rule my mind. Hard times ain't gonna rule my mind, honey. Hard times ain't gonna rule my mind no more. But the cat-town man doesn't plow no more. I seen him walking down to the Super 8 store. As he lost that nag, he forgot that song. Woke up one morning and the mule's gone. So come on, you ragtime kings, come on, you dogs that sing. Pick up your dusty old horn and give it a blow. Singing hard times ain't gonna rule my mind. Hard times ain't gonna rule my mind, honey. Hard times ain't gonna rule my mind no more. If you wake up and don't want to smile, if it takes just a little while, open your eyes, look at the day. You'll see things in a different way. Don't stop thinking about tomorrow. Don't stop, it'll soon be here. It'll be here better than before. Yesterday's gone, yesterday's gone. Why not think about the times to come, not about things that you haven't done. And if your life has been bad to you, just think of what tomorrow will do. y'all. Hope you're having a good Sunday. You might have noticed I'm not Ronnie. Maybe. I'm Mary Gleason. It's nice to be here with y'all. Thanks. I think you know these fellas. Someone told me long ago there's a calm before the storm. I know coming down for some time, when it's so say it'll rain a sunny day. I know shining down like water. I wanna know, have you ever seen the rain? I wanna know, have you ever seen the rain coming down on a sunny day? Yesterday and days before, sun is cold and rain is hot. I know in that way all my time, till forever on it goes, through the circle fast and slow. I know I can't stop but wonder. I wanna know, have you ever seen the rain? I wanna know, have you ever seen the rain coming down on a sunny day? I wanna know, have you ever seen the rain? I wanna know, have you ever seen the rain coming down on a sunny day? Coming down on a sunny day. Coming down on a sunny day. Thanks, y'all.
I don't know about you, but for a long time, my view of Ecclesiastes, yes, we're back in Ecclesiastes for one more week, it hinged around this translated word of vanity or meaningless, which is in most of the Bible translations, which for me summed up this unique book's somewhat negative message. But I think I might have misunderstood the core message of Ecclesiastes, because the preacher in Ecclesiastes actually uses the literal Hebrew word breath or vapor or mist, which highlights the deliberate tensions and paradoxes in the book. So we need breath to live, yet it disappears, just like the morning mist this morning, just like our short lives. Life is all a gift from God, however short, and his unseen presence in it gives our work and our play meaning. And so we're encouraged to live our lives to the full. So we've got 3 readings this morning. The first is Ecclesiastes 9, 7 to 10. This is a paraphrase from the Message. Seize life, eat bread with gusto, drink wine with a robust heart. Oh yes, God takes pleasure in your pleasure. Dress festively every morning. Don't skimp on colours and scarves. Relish life with the spouse you love, each and every day of your precarious life. Each day is God's gift. It's all you get in exchange for the hard work of staying alive. Make the most of each one. Whatever turns up, grab it and do it, and heartily. In actual fact, I was thinking about coming in very bright colours and lots of scars, but the preacher said I couldn't. Thank you. Ecclesiastes 11, 1 to 4. Be generous. Invest in acts of charity. Charity yields high returns. Don't hoard your goods. Spread them around. Be a blessing to others. This could be your last night. When the clouds are full of water, it rains. When the wind blows down a tree, it lies where it falls. Don't sit there watching the wind. Do your own work. Don't stare at the clouds. Get on with your life. And Mark 10, verses 13 to 16. The people brought children to Jesus, hoping he might touch them. The disciples shooed them off, but Jesus was irate and let them know it. Don't push these children away. Don't ever get between them and me. These children are at the very center of life in the kingdom. Mark this: unless you accept God's kingdom in the simplicity of a child, you'll never get in. Then, gathering the children up in his arms, he laid his hands of blessing on them. God's word for the people of God.
Great. So I came in and said, I've got this line in my talk. We said, we could sing it. So it's not quite where it should be, but you can remember that when I actually speak it. So yes, as you'll have remembered from last week, if you were here or saw online, Ronnie and Garrett are in Ireland. In fact, I think they've come back today, maybe, or tomorrow. They're doing a seek-out reconnaissance trip for a potential pilgrimage next year. So I'm excited about that. And they've had snow, rain, cold, but it's Ireland, but snow, I don't think they expected that. And there's images of Ronnie going and buying underwear or something, long johns, because he was so cold. So anyway, according to some research, around 50% of what I say you'll forget before you reach your car. Another 25% before your first coffee tomorrow morning. And if I'm lucky, you'll remember 10% in a couple of weeks. Sounds a bit hopeless from my perspective. But I'm working on the fact that the research is actually, I think, a little bit more complicated than that. And also, you've already had a layer in your memory bank set down because Ronnie's been talking about Ecclesiastes, the meaning of life, for the last few weeks, finding meaning in our lives in a world that often makes no sense and feels absurd at times. So I hope you'll remember a bit more than 25% when you have your coffee in the morning. So we've been looking at what, as Doug said, the preacher, the teacher said, who wrote Ecclesiastes in the Bible, and also what Viktor Frankl, a man who was imprisoned in Auschwitz in the concentration camps in the Second World War, he survived and wrote the classic book, Man's Search for Meaning. The teacher's conclusion, as Doug said and we read, enjoy good food and wine, enjoy the here and now, accept your lot, and find your own sustaining reason for being alive. And Frankl, what did he say? He said, this is how you find meaning. Everything can be taken from a man but one thing, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. That's how you make meaning. So both of the writers talk about attitude, how you approach your life and what comes at you. Another element that we looked at in regards to what makes a meaningful life was work, what you do with your time, your hands, your body. And the third aspect that we talked about was experience, what life brings you and what meaning you make of it, whatever comes. But it's about how we regard both work and our experience, our attitude to them, that makes them meaningful. So today, I'm going to ground and put a bit of legs on what Ronnie talked and talk about attitude. I've got several friends in their 80s. One's experienced, as far as I know, divorce, remarriage, death. She's now widowed, grown children with serious health problems, and grandchildren with health problems too. And certainly her own physical difficulties, finding it hard to hold a pencil. And yet, wow, we love meeting with her. She talks about accepting where she finds herself right now. And she exudes joy and peace, wicked sense of humor, but there's joy in the small things. I think of another person in their 80s, a bit closer to my own story that's a bit relevant at the moment. She complains everything is everyone else's fault. There's always a problem. Symbolized by the flowers, I don't think they watch, she doesn't watch, symbolized by the flowers that I sent her recently. I asked if she'd received them over the phone, and oh yes, they were white. The 3 carnations had very small buds. They never came out. Silence on the call. So I said, well, they might come out when you brought them into the house. Oh no, they won't. End of conversation. It's like the attitude gives her world away. 2 very different 80-year-olds. But you can't wait for life to be perfect, for the flowers to bloom when you want. But you can choose how to respond and to go inside yourself and to tend to the soil where you bloom. Meaning, as Ronnie said, is an inside job. It's your responsibility. So, slide 2, this is your mission, should you choose to take it. It was meant to be something here, but it's gone wrong. Hold on a second. Okay, well, hold on. Can you ring again? Technology. Okay, it's not going to work. Okay, it was basically, it's all messed up. It's going to be the Mission Impossible theme tune. There we go, that's as good as. Doug used to have it as his ringtone whenever our children called. It was, okay, this is Mission Impossible, this is the children. So yeah, this is your mission, but should you choose to accept it, it's your story. How are you writing it? And you may be saying, for those of you that are a bit older, well, I'm too old to change. No. Even if your body is aging out, your inner self, your soul doesn't. Inwardly, we're still growing. And if you're saying, well, I can ignore this for now, I'm too young, I need to live a bit. No, now is the time to create meaning. Maybe you find it hard to look a bit deeper beyond the surface of your life, so these questions might help to examine where your attitude comes from and your ability to accept your lot and find meaning. Maybe you need to ask yourself this, and this is where the John Prine bit comes in really. What distracts you from going inside? Is it social media? Is it constant activity? We've got to be on the run. What do you trip over every time you go to start looking inside? What blocks the light, helping you look inside your inner house? Or is your inner house maybe too cluttered? You're still, thinking about things that happened 20 years ago, and that's what you talk about. Maybe the old answers that you had, you keep coming up with the same old, this is why. Particularly in our faith, I think Ron is really encouraging us to dig deeper, to ask questions. Jesus asked more questions than gave answers, and that needs to be our model too, to ask questions. But it's scary. Maybe we wish that everything could be as it was, perfect. But actually there's a lovely turn of phrase by James Hollis, the dirty secret of nostalgia, where we always talk about the past, takes us to a place that never really existed and robs us of the emergent present. It robs us of finding life and meaning and newness now because we're too much back there. And it robs us of asking questions in the now if we keep going back to then. So if that's you and you find it hard to go deeper, that's when you blow up the TV, throw away the paper, go to the country and try to find Jesus on your own. Maybe some of us need to do all of that. Because if we don't, we'll be like that person that Søren Kierkegaard talked about, who woke up one day, read the paper, and found his obituary in the paper. It's like, what? I'm not dead. But maybe he realized that he hadn't really lived, so he might as well have been dead. Bit of a salutary story. So if we've accepted the mission, what are the next steps? How do we go inside and create meaning for ourselves? It's already well saying it's an inside job. How do we work on our attitude? That seems to be the key to accepting our lot. And in the words of the teacher, it's about looking inside. So the main thing I want to say that I want you to remember is cultivate the mind and attitude of a child. So I couldn't, because I'm a grandmother now. This is Emmy. She's actually a year in April, my first grandchild. Gorgeous. I didn't think I'd be that grandmother, but anyway. So, when I think of Emmy, when we say we've got to be like a child, I think of Emmy. And that's a wonderful picture of her being curious, wondering. When we FaceTime her, she'll look at us and try and touch the screen, not sure who we are, where we are. A bit intrigued, but it's not a curiosity with judgment. It's not like, oh, what are you doing that for? With the frown that we maybe sometimes express our curiosity with. It's an open, wow, what are you doing that for? Which is a very different kind of curiosity. That's a childlike curiosity, right? So one of the readings, Mark 10:15, Jesus is quoted as saying, become like a child or you won't get into the kingdom of heaven. It's not for the proud, for the people that think they have it all together. Another way of putting this is cultivate a beginner's mind from the Buddhist tradition, and both encourage that child attitude, that position to view life from. I found a quote that Pablo Picasso, the artist, wrote, which was that it takes time to become young. It's like we get to be old and then we have to go back again. Bit ironic, go old and then we endeavor to become young again. But that is the work we need to go towards. So, how do we find out what attitude we have, and then how do we change it? So just 5 little things to help us look at how we can go deeper ourselves. The first, notice what you say to yourself, your chatter. Listen to the chatter in your head. So how do we do that? Well, one way in is something that I know we've talked about before, which is contemplation, meditation, mindfulness. And then when we're doing those activities, those still things, we notice what comes up. So if you've got any myths about doing meditation or mindfulness, that you're just going to be in this wonderful state, rubbish. Even advanced yogis have thoughts that come in. It's not like that. But we're training our mind in attention, to pay attention. If you haven't done it before, there's a couple of little entryways into it. I think when I spoke before, I talked about 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Some of you might remember. You just sit there, and first of all, you find 5 things that you can see, and then 4 things that you can touch, 3 things that you can hear, 2 things that you can smell, and 1 thing that you can taste. And that just helps you settle. And then you focus on your breathing, in and out. And when you find a thought that comes in about tomorrow's shopping list, or I've got to go and do this, okay, just let it go and come back to the breath. Another strategy that I'll add in today, let's play, because we're about being a child. So maybe if you would like to just close your eyes, or maybe just look down in front of you, I just want you to take a couple of breaths in and out. And I just want you to imagine a line down the center of your body. And then I want you just to look to your left, so everybody look to the left. And that is your past. That's what's in your past. And then turn your head back towards the center. And then I want you to look to the other side. And that is your future. And then come back to the center, to that line. That is what we have right now. Just our center, where we are, where we're sitting, as you breathe in and out. Just like to open your eyes. So that's just another strategy, just to help us to sit. And it almost like does the literal, this is where I am. Other things that help are sitting in the same place, or it could be walking. Nature is wonderful. There's no magic, there's Headspace app and other apps, but it does calm our heart rate. We know all this now, the science of it changes areas of the brain, and even doing it for a few minutes over every day for a few weeks, we know changes stuff. There's been all this research. But what I want us to focus on today is when you do that, you will notice the chatter. And when I started doing that, it's like, oh my gosh, it's like, what am I going to do tomorrow? What am I going to pack for a holiday in 2 weeks' time? I'm not there yet. And what about that conversation I had 3 weeks ago? What if I said that? It's like, whoa. And you realize what's going on inside, that I am very future-oriented, actually, and I need to work at being in that middle line. Other people are past, I'm future. Just being in the present. Maybe it's worrying about, what do they think when I said that? Oh, that was so stupid. Oh, they'll think I'm awful. Well, hold on. This is all about what other people think of me. Okay, that's an important thing to realize about what's inside, because that's going to affect what comes out. That's going to affect our attitude. And I don't see Emmy any worried about any of those things, right? You think of the child, she is in the moment. Not to say she isn't angry or frustrated or scared, but she's in the moment being angry because something hasn't gone her way. She's in the moment being scared rather than thinking about what might happen next week. Just moved to a new house yesterday, so I'm thinking, well, don't you see how she'll cope with all that? But she is in the present with the emotions that she has. So number 2, be curious. Ask questions of yourself that will give you some clues about what's going on underneath. And I've got 4 ideas of different questions. What remains unfinished in me? I wonder what pops up as you hear that. What fires my imagination? I was going to tell everybody to get their phones out and take pictures, but anyway, feel free. What are the things that haven't worked? What have I outgrown? And then, does the path I am on make me a larger person? Or is it narrowing me down more and more and more? And even if we're bedridden, we don't need to have a narrow life. And whatever age we are, I know some 25-year-olds who are more like 95-year-olds. It's not about age, it's about our attitude, funnily enough. Find questions that matter to you, that open to you, that open you up further, and you bloom. So the third thing, do some growing, do some extending. There's a tree in the middle of a house, which I thought was great. Shouldn't really be there, because we tend to think trees shouldn't be inside, and we tend to think as we're old we shouldn't grow. But we're growing inside. Joan Chichester wrote that the blessing and the curse of a beginner's mind and a childlike mind is that we actually never achieve. We simply go on learning, just like Emmy will. We'll keep trying in the hope that someday, whatever is supposed to happen will happen. So if something piques your interest just a little, follow that line. Go there. I recently took up pickleball, and yes, I'm going to preach about pickleball. It's such a wonderful analogy and kind of distracts me from my brain because I'm thinking, oh, wow, that's a great analogy. And I've learned more about what's going on in my inside world through pickleball. I've never played a sport, never been competitive sport. But, I'm about to serve, and the woman on the other side, and I'm winning, suddenly says, oh, Anna, where do you come from? What? In the middle of the game, across the court, she yells at me. I've obviously still got some unresolved stuff here. It happens all the time. It's like, that threw me off my game, but I need to be focused. And also, I kind of wanted to be nice, because I'm nice. And I need to just know that's the time not to be nice. Oh, actually, I come from that. It's like, no, I need to just say, talk to you later, or London, and go on. So we can so easily get set off our game. Another thing is you take the energy out of the shot. Karen and Kevin, we play with, they know all this. You don't do the same energy back. Sometimes you do, but sometimes you just take it. So when maybe people say stuff to me and I want to fight back, it's like, no, I have to just breathe and I have to just let stuff go. I have to accept and surrender and do whatever was triggered on. I have to remember to be a goldfish. The Ted Lasso show, if any of you know, brilliant, talks about, okay, you make a mistake, you're a goldfish. You go around and it's as if it hasn't happened. And the same in life. Rather than holding on to grudges, be a goldfish. Just let it go. And Doug did give me permission to say this, but he's usually very good at doing things and learning things, sports, pretty quickly. But he's not doing so perfectly well, which is called very interesting marriage counselling. So we've had marriage therapy for pickleball, sitting on a court with the two of us, how we play together. Should we continue together or not? Jury's out. But Doug's realising he's got to go inside. What's the competitive bit about? Why is it difficult to lose? Why is it hard to have this just as a fun game? But no, it's like we've got to win. And going back in the car, maybe I should take 2 cars, but he's getting better. Okay, moving on before I dig Doug in it more. So number 4, and this is kind of like my favourite thing really, which Ronnie talked about. Find out who is your jackass. So I don't know if you remember that when Ronnie talked about it. Who heard that and remembered that? Okay, good proportion. So he talked about a jackass is a term evidently that can be used for a mule that's sometimes used to train a horse that needs breaking. So the horse is tied to the mule and they go everywhere together. And eventually that horse that's bucking and whatever, you can't sit on him, you can't touch him, will eventually be docile and disciplined as a result of being tied to another animal that he cannot escape from. So my question is, what is, and it often is a person, your jackass? We're all hitched to things that are stronger than us. I only realised recently, really, that I've had one for 36 years. And no, it's not Doug. We've been married nearly 40 years, so it's not him. Although maybe that might count, but suffering that we get through being with somebody or connected actually leads to our own salvation, leads to us saving ourselves. Because if we choose to stop struggling, let go, and be teachable, humble, like a child, we can learn. And I'm beginning to be thankful for this situation in my life, because it's like, yeah, I'm still working at it. And it's hard. So you might like to think, well, who is there? What is there that's continually bugged me? What's been a theme? Or maybe it's somebody that's the same pattern, different person, different situation, but there's a theme there. So spend some time thinking about that. And in my experience, there's no tougher jackass than a prison. I run an art program at Defuniak Prison. Don't know if you know. It's 45 minutes from here, right next to the landfill. What does that say? There's a state prison where up to about 1,400 men are held, from people in there for life to just a few years. And the Healing Art program that I'm involved with is basically a Cultural Arts Alliance initiative, which is brilliant. Very grateful for that. And they also do a songwriters program too. But it uses art, I use art as a tool to go inside to their deeper hidden selves. So on Thursdays, I see played out the mission assigned to a few of those men who have chosen to say yes to their assignment to go deeper. It's the only thing they literally have control of in prison. The majority, though, there say no, and they continue with life outside on the inside, with drugs, violence, aggression, and bitterness. But I was talking to Al last week. I had amazing conversations with these guys. He had a brutal awakening to his life trajectory when he ended up in prison. And he said it was only when he saw his sentence in black and white when it hit him where his life had been heading, and he's not in for life. He told me he'd served 6 years with 10 to go, and he's 35. Restraining order, can't see his kids, who are now obviously bigger and bigger. Can't call them. But he said he had made a choice, and now he didn't see the wire around him, the walls. Instead, he saw it as a place to grow. He told me, it's like an intense college course in dorms, or a military boot camp. And I think, wow, not like my dorm. He changed his attitude. And another young guy, Mario's just had his 25th birthday. He's a gentle, thoughtful guy, quiet, writes a lot, because I give them a journal and they keep that for the six sessions over 6 weeks at a time. And he said that in the environment he grew up in, he remembers saying that around 7 or 8 years, he was asked by a teacher what he wanted to be and do when he grew up. And he said what he was supposed to say, but deep inside, he told himself, I'm going to be a thug, T-H-U-G. They were the only people in my neighborhood who had power, and they weren't under other people's control. They called the shots. So I felt I'd be safe if I was a thug like them. And he said he'd only realized a few weeks ago that what happened to him then, as he'd begun to go inside himself. You know that story we tell ourselves? And he found meaning out of where he found himself now, and he's a lifer for murder. And you think, oh. But he's choosing to do the work. His attitude is changing even as he's learning hard truths about himself. I found it very insightful that another young white guy in a class I did last year could actually have passed for a clean-cut college graduate, remind me of one of my kids. But he had the dusty blue, oversized prison uniform on. He commented to me that, well, I know I'm in prison, but people like you, people in South Walton, don't. He said, you're in prison too, but you don't know it. You're going down the same hopeless paths, behaviors, thoughts, and trapped inside yourselves in your own story, and you choose not to go deeper within as it's too scary. I think, wow, there's us with all our comforts and whatever. We can sit and have a coffee as we delve into ourselves. They're in a bunk in a room of 90 guys with 3 foot either side, and that's his territory, and that's what he does and where he goes with his head. So all these young men, like Viktor Frankl, were stuck. Nowhere to go, prison routines day after day. where time is a different time zone to here in South Walton. It's like you go through a portal. Breakfast is at 4 in the morning, lunch is at 10:15, dinner's at 4, that's it. And they often spend their day in bed unless they're doing the programs, and it's a great prison for there are a lot of opportunities. But they find meaning on the inside, literally. And they're using their jackass to do that. So what are you doing with yours? And then the last point, number 5. What level of energy do you have? And just a quick point about this, I find it quite interesting. When I go somewhere, I come home and I've begun saying, wow, I feel really drained and exhausted. So I'm starting to think and ask myself the question, well, what was it that made me feel exhausted? You know, and sometimes it might be, wow, I've had to carry that conversation all the time and nobody's asked any questions or been very interested. So I'm drained. And realizing what that says about me. Or I'll come home as the Energizer Bunny and I've been filled up, I'm excited. Well, what's that? That's given me life. So knowing myself, what gives me life and what drains me? What makes me feel, oh, stop, can't do any more? What makes me feel, wow, I'm on the go, I'm on a green? And what maybe do I need to wonder about? The yellow, the amber. So that's quite interesting. And often, you know, we can find through meeting with other people that, you know, maybe we're a bit fearful because we feel, well, my heart's racing. Why is my heart racing? And I realize, wow, I'm a bit scared in that situation. Or I'm a bit anxious. Maybe somebody made me feel quite anxious. So starting to look at that. And often our fears come from childhood. And we need to go back and dig in then. So then just the next slide, which is just a recap of those ideas I've just made. Notice the chatter. Be curious. Do some growing, figure out your jackass, and watch your energy meter. And I'd be remiss if I didn't echo Ronnie's words last week about this time for action, not violence, but that can transform that healthy expression of anger into compassionate action and justice seeking. Anger's an emotion a bit like a fire, but it can get out of control. Don't think I've ever heard a sermon in a church on anger apart from don't be. Interesting topic, but just to touch, Jesus said don't sin when you're angry or mess up. But there was a daily meditation yesterday from Richard Rohr in the Center for Action and Contemplation. We talked about him before, and it talked about treating anger like you'd cook potatoes. It was a great analogy. Potatoes need to be cooked. You can't eat raw potatoes, and it's the same as raw anger, which has negative energy, and that fire of anger gets out of control. So it's a bit like potatoes. You put them in the pot, let them come to the boil, simmer them, say 15 minutes, and then they're cooked and lovely, and you know what to do with them. So in the same way, hold your anger. It's okay to be angry. Hold it. Sit with it. Write about it. Yell about it. Look inside you. See what's triggering that. Is that something in you about injustice, unfairness, something that happened to you? About your legitimate needs not being met, not being heard. But in time, that will go off the boil, and then you'll know what to do with it. And it becomes a positive energy of understanding and compassion. I thought that was quite helpful. So, other words we've used that could describe what we've talked about today, just in closing, is actually we've been talking about going to our center, to going to our soul. Our soul is where ultimate meaning is held. It's the blueprint of what you are and who you can become. I hope you've been encouraged today to listen to your soul so that your inherent goodness, beauty, and wonderfulness can shine through everything, that you're worthy, you're loved, you're not rubbish, as they say in England. You're created by the divine, the creator God, created as a unique human being. And I hope you connect to that curious, childlike self that maybe got lost along the way. In the words of Mary Oliver, that you can live your one wild and precious life. Amen. And the last slide. This is your mission to boldly go, split infinitive, I think, or something, and find meaning in the one precious life that you have. So we're going to move on to eat and drink the bread and the wine here. Maybe those that are serving can come forward. We're going to share symbols that stand for what Jesus modeled to us, to be broken as he was, and then to share our lives, to be vulnerable, to be open, to be childlike in our living, to be humble, as he was when he was assigned to death on a cross and with arms outstretched, sharing his vulnerability and modelling for us to be like that too in the world, which is easier to do when we know what's in here, when we know that we've got nothing left to lose, when we know ourselves and know we're loved as we are. So everyone's welcome, as we say, at this sharing table, a symbol that we're all one, all part of the family of God. Wherever you find yourself on this journey in life, please come.
Well, the moon is broken and the sky is cracked. Come on up to the house, and all the things you see is all that you lack. Come on up to the house, and all your crying don't do you no good. Come on up to the house, come down off the cross, we could use the wood. Come on up to the house, you got to come on up to the house. Come on up to the house, this world's not my home, I'm just a passing through. Come on up to the house. There's no light at the tunnel, no irons in the fire. Come on up to the house, and you're singing lead soprano in the young man's choir. Come on up to the house. Don't life seem nasty, brutish and short? Come on up to the house, and seas are stormy, you can't find no port. Come on up to the house, you got to come on up to the house. Come on up to the house, this world's not my home, I'm just a passing through. Come on up to the house. There's nothing in the world that you can do. Come on up to the house, and you'll be whipped by the forces that are inside of you. Come on up to the house. You're high on top of the mountain of woe. Come on up to the house, and you know you should surrender, but you can't let it go. Come on up to the house, you got to come on up to the house. Come on up to the house, this world's not my home, I'm just a passing through. Come on up to the house. Come on up to the house.
Come on up to the house,
This world's not my home, I'm just a passing through. Come on up to the house. Yeah.
Great. We really thank Marie and the band for being here this morning. Thank you, Marie. It's been great. Lovely. So let's share the bread together. Christ gave his body for us. And then let's share the cup as a symbol of his blood. shed for us. And I know there's a lot of needs that people have on their hearts. So let's just have a time, just a few minutes of silence, seconds of silence. Let's just bring those people that we know to God, that are struggling, people that have their jackasses, they don't know it. People that have those jackasses and they're really struggling. And for any other needs that we know. God, we come to you this morning. You are love, pure, unbounded love. With you there are no lines of demarcation, no exclusion, no fine print. You are love, and you love me. And we place ourselves today in love's arms and ask for your peace and your presence with those we brought to mind and ourselves. And let's pray together the prayer that Jesus taught his followers. It's also on the screen. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Thine is the kingdom, power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. So we're just going to be sung out with a great song that was also on the Barbie movie. Yeah, that Brandy Carlisle. Oh, you changed it? Yeah. You changed it, okay.
This was more on brand.
Okay, more on brand. I love it. Love the flexibility. Thank you. Okay, great. Take it away.
Steel rails, chase sunshine around the bend, winding through the trees like a ribbon in the wind. I don't mind not knowing what lies down the track, 'cause I'm looking up ahead, keep my mind from turning back. It's not the first time I found myself alone and known. If I really had you once, then I'd have you when I'm gone. So blowing lonesome in my mind, calling me along and never-ending middle line. Steel rails, chase sunshine around the bend, winding through the trees like a ribbon in the wind. I don't mind not knowing what lies down the track, 'cause I'm looking ahead, keep my mind from turning back. Sun is shining through the open boxcar door, calling me away to the things I've known before. I've lost count of the hours, days, and nights. The rhythm of the rails keeps me rolling down the line. Chase sunshine around the bend, winding through the trees like a ribbon in the wind. I don't mind not knowing what lies down the track, 'cause I'm looking ahead, keep my mind from turning back.
Have a great week.